Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. It's good to be with you again. It's January 15, 2021. It also happens to be the 51st anniversary of the end of the Nigeria Biafra Civil War. This is always a somber day if you come from Eastern Nigeria because a lot of people died in that war. I think about 3.5 million people passed away in that war, most of them Igbos. My dad fought in that war, and I'm always so grateful that he was able to survive. I'm fortunate, one of the fortunate ones to survive. So it's a somber day. It's a day of remembrance, and like we like to say, we will never forget. And the topic of war, if you will, had me thinking about conflict. And there's a ton of conflict right now in our society. I won't talk about that because this is focused really on the workplace. But I just wanted to address this idea that conflict in of itself is bad or it should not exist. And I think those two baseline assumptions get us in trouble. First of all, as long as human beings are working with each other, we will always have conflict. It is always going to be present. And the way you can approach it is either to ignore it or act like it shouldn't exist or seek to embrace it and use it to your advantage or use it to our advantage. And why will we always have conflict? Well, because we're different. We all have different interests and we have different ways of achieving those interests. Even in corporations where there might be a shared vision or a shared goal, we want to do this project or that project. The reality is, we'll all have different ways of thinking about how we achieve that project. We all come at it different ways. That's what makes us human, that's what makes us special, and that's a gift. So there'll always be conflict. So the question is, how do we deal with it? And let's tell the truth here. Most of us are terrible at working our way through conflict, and understandably so, right? You go through life and you're born and you face conflict, and it's either fight or flight. You go to school, it's either fight or flight with conflict. You go to university or whatever, right? We don't have any formal training or education on how to handle conflict or how to deal with it, even though it's a constant in our lives. And this is sad because what it means is we spend a lot of our waking hours potentially engaged in some conflict and don't know how to really work our way through it. The other myth, if you want to call it that, is that all conflict is bad. Again, that's not true. There's definitely conflict that is debilitating, that prevents us from achieving what we want to accomplish. But there's also conflict that can be very, very productive, that can be constructive, that can be healthy, that can produce results that are better than what any one individual brought to the table. This is the kind of conflict that you really want to harness in the workplace. And this is the kind of conflict that you must develop the skills in addressing or being a part of. This is a conflict where you're really focused on the merits of any given idea and how it will work. You're not focused on the person with the idea or focused on how the idea makes you look, but you're focused on the merits of the idea. Now, here's a big caveat. Like, I'm saying this like we can all be so objective and rational all the time. The reality is that's not the case. We're often emotional, we often have our pride and ego. So, to really engage in constructive conflict, ego must take a back seat. You must accept that we're not always rational, and we must be willing to have our opinion change, our viewpoint altered. And those are hard things. I think those have a lot to do with being prideful, right? And being willing to just put the ego to the side. But that will be a talk for another day. I just wanted to share that conflict's always present. The question is, how do you harness it? See you next time. Bye.